Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis, and in this video I want to tell you guys about a lot of the weapons that I use to be successful in solo activities. And that can be anything from trying to do a solo Legend or Master Lost sector. That could be maybe you're trying to solo a dungeon to get an exotic, one of which will actually be on this list. Maybe you're trying to do a higher level Nightfall or try a solo Grandmaster Nightfall. There's different levels of solo activities. Maybe you're just like, running at a weird time and you want to go run some Vanguard strikes and just kind of burn through them as quickly as possible. There are different weapons for different situations, but I know not everybody has friends to play with all the time. So in this video, what I want to cover for you guys is my list of my favorite top weapons to use as a solo player for a lot of different situations. But before we get going, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Raid Shadow Legends. I know you've heard of Raid, but if you haven't tried it yet, honestly, I don't know why. I'm level 29 myself, and seriously, you've got over 600 awesome champions, like Richard, for example, who is just an absolute unit, and with his support abilities will really help carry your team to the finish line. Once you've got your team assembled, you can take them into PvP battles in the arena, clan bosses with millions of health, unique dungeon bosses with specialized loot, a 12-zone campaign with fully voice-acted cutscenes in between each chapter, and more. It really is a console-level experience on your phone. This month, they just released a brand new faction, the Sylvan Watchers, which are comprised of Forest Elves, Ints, Druids, and Fays, all ready to join your team. They've also got a new Forge Pass where you can get some of the most powerful gear in the game. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can get an exclusive reward in-game right now through Prime Gaming, so make sure you grab them when you log in. And if you haven't played Raid yet, click my link in the description or scan the QR code on screen and you'll get unique bonuses worth $30. A free champion Rector draft, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon your own new champion as soon as you get in game. All of this will be waiting for you in the inbox, but this deal is for new players only and expires in 30 days, so don't wait too long. So I know many of you will travel for the holidays, so pick up Raid Shadow Legends so you've always got an awesome game waiting in your pocket, and make sure to look me up when you log in under Ebontis. Also, you can join my clan while I've still got space. Good luck, and I'll see you in Teleria. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list. This is not in too much of an order, except probably the top few. A lot of these down below the top 3 have mixed use in very different situations, and this is a prime example. The first one I want to mention is Witherhoard. Now, you get this through the Shadowkeep expansion, and if you got it then, cool. If you don't have it, you need the Shadowkeep expansion so you can buy this through the exotic kiosk in the tower. I'll show you what that looks like later on in the video. But what this does is it fires a projectile that basically leaves blight on the ground, or if you fire it on an enemy, it ticks damage on them. Now, if that enemy that you shoot it on ticks damage and dies, then it leaves the blight on the ground. But you can use this for many things, whether it's clearing a group of ads, controlling a spawn point of enemies, putting bonus damage on a boss. Like if you shoot this on the ground and then also shoot this on a boss, while it's ticking both the floor and on the boss, you can switch over to a DPS weapon like a rocket or a linear fusion rifle or anything, and you're getting both your damage output and then also Witherhoard's tick damage. So it has many uses. It's one of those things I can't recommend enough because the places that you could use this thing, you just probably will find another one the more you use it. So I recommend getting this one very highly. Lots of uses, DPS, ad clear, crowd control. You can do many things with this one, so I highly recommend adding it to your collection. Next is going to be a pair of legendary linear fusion rifles, and they're going to be the Riptide, which is going to be Stasis, so in your kinetic top slot, and then also Cartesian Coordinate, which is going to be solar and in your energy slot. These are both rapid fire frames. They have more ammo reserves, they slightly faster reload when the magazine is empty, and you've got 7 in the magazine. These serve multiple purposes, whether you stun a champion and want to put some chunk damage into them, if you just want to chunk a major, or if you run out of heavy ammo and you need some way to do some damage to a boss that's not going to be like plinking away with an auto rifle shooting peanuts, these are great. And honestly, when it comes to the DPS nature of a rapid fire frame, you can do a lot of work with these. So both are good. And if you find something like, Under Pressure or Lead from Gold, and you've got high impact reserves and Vorpal, you can get some good perks that are going to help you get some solid DPS out of these weapons. So both of them are recommended for you to try and find a couple good rolls on. And then once you get comfortable with the fusion rifle as kind of a backup DPS chunker weapon, they're actually pretty helpful. So don't sleep on them. See if you can find a couple good ones. Good places to spend your Umbral Engrams if you're looking for a use for those. The next thing here is going to be the Monument to Lost Lights, and there's a couple weapons in here. We're literally just in the middle of the tower between the two vaults. And it's the Legacy gear. These are ones that are probably easier to go after first, and then if you get some better weapons, which are higher up on my list, we'll explain a little later. But first you've got Point of the Stag, and all of these have the same cost, 2 prisms, 1 shard, and then the Glimmer and shards. They're not too bad to go after. I know shards are not the easiest, but you can get some of those even just from a season pass. But I mean, you've got an arc bow with Vorpal, so plus 20% since it's a primary ammo against bosses, vehicles, guardians on their super, and champions, plus Archer's Tempo. That's a solid offering right there, so you can't really go wrong. Throw major spec on that, it's like 27%. That's really good. For grenade launchers, this is a really fun one to start with because Ambitious Assassin, if you get multiple kills, you can have 2 in the magazine instead of 1, and then pair that with Chain Reaction, where if you kill one enemy, it's going to explode, probably killing more, and then Ambitious Assassin is this nice little cycle of 2 grenades, shoot them both quickly, learn breach load grenade launchers, they're pretty fun, and now Arc 3.0 makes the chain reaction even more fun for all the stuff that you can do. And then finally, we've also got a fusion rifle. Now, this is a rapid fire frame, so if this is one of the early ones you get, it's cool. You could use it for DPS with high impact reserves, but really this one's for feeding frenzy, kills, basically making you reload faster, and reservoir burst when you're at like the top of your magazine, so 8 of 8. When you fire, it's going to do more damage, but it's also going to cause enemies to explode when they die. So if you shoot this into a group of low level enemies, you might kill a couple, but the explosion's going to kill all the rest. Feeding Frenzy will reload faster, and then you'll be ready to go with Reservoir Burst again. But it is a rapid fire frame with 8, so you can also dump some decent DPS if there's a Void Burn as well. So all 3 of these are grindable, and they're also going to be decent perks to start off with. As I said, there's a better grenade launcher I'll show you higher, but it comes from a raid. This is a decent place to start, probably not like top DPS option. Pretty solid arc bow though, to be honest, and all 3 of these are just prisms and shards. You can get those from multiple sources, including the season pass and other places, so they are grindable, but they are worth your time, I promise. The next thing I want to talk about is a sword. Just trying to get yourself a couple of good ones, whether it's a solar, negative space, whether it's something from Dares of Eternity. If you can get the other half, you can actually craft it. But all you're looking for is Relentless Strikes and Whirlwind Blade. If you see a sword with these 2 on it, even if these aren't like perfect over here, hold on to it, because hitting 3 attacks is going to give you sword ammo back, and then like doing rapid strikes is going to increase your damage, and if you just keep wailing on a boss, you're going to increase that damage up to 10x, and that's when you can drop a big heavy swing and get a big chunk of damage off. So whether it's solar, whether it's arc, whether it's void, Relentless Strikes and Whirlwind Blade are going to be your goal. If you can find like a Falling Guillotine with Swordmaster's Guard and Jagged Edge as well, you're golden. But Relentless and Whirlwind, that's what you're looking for. If you find it, keep it. There are some places swords really are just the best. Alright, now I'm trying to mix in exotics, but I have to mention some of them. You know that. Xenophage comes from the Pit of Heresy. It is a quest, and you have to have the Shadowkeep expansion for this one. But this is a unique machine gun. It hits like an absolute Mack truck. It has 120 rounds per minute, crazy range, impact, as you can tell, is just maxed out. And their explosive round ammunition, you can pair this with, you know, elemental wells and other that. I had a fun build in the duality dungeon where I used this thing. You don't really have to aim much, because if you hit him in the body, there is no crit damage on this thing, so you just have to hit the target. And whether it's, you know, a major hobgoblin in the prophecy dungeon who just gets deleted in the cube room, or you just want to pump out some damage from range on a boss, if you've got the ammo, this thing will hit hard. So Xenophage is worth doing the quest. I promise you, this thing will kind of change the way you think about where you can use it. And then if you start getting into elemental wells and explosive well maker, you can have a lot of fun with this one. I promise. It's a great gun, and it's worth going after. Now, auto rifles is probably a weapon that you're used to in so many different games, and you've got some very good ones now in Destiny 2. The Ammit AR2 is craftable. You can put incandescent on it, so you can just make things explode, and Amalon auto rifles feel very good. And this is like a free gun. It's from a quest in the Enclave. It's this weapon, and then one more that's higher on my list, but this one is definitely worth crafting. You've also got something like Crate, which is just an odd weapon that always punches above its weight. No rhyming intended there. But Vice Stinger, basically doing damage, you get a chance to reload your magazine. Overflow, you can double the magazine if you pick up Special Heavy. And then if you get one for all, you hit 3 targets, just like, you know, kind of spray and hit 3, you get 30% damage for like 10 seconds. And with all these bullets, you can just do some work. Auto rifles are needed for champions sometimes and other things. So believe me, these two alone are worth looking at. But when it comes to the king of auto rifles, and especially when it comes to what you can do with one, if you don't have HardLight, this is one of those that it does just take Xur or a random engram, but basically there's no damage fall off, it over-penetrates targets, it can ricochet off surfaces and then does bonus damage after the bounce. The Catalyst makes it even better, because I'm pretty sure it damn near maxes out the stability, and by holding reload you can switch between Arc, Solar, and Void. So we tend to have auto rifles for some type of champion. You also have shields in many activities. HardLight is one of those weapons I even forget about half the time till you guys remind me about it in the comments, but believe me, if you don't have this one and you're a solo player, what you can do with this one is kind of a universal shield and also some probable champion situation. It's a very good weapon. Auto rifles are good, this is kind of the king of them, but again, there are a couple auto rifles like the Crate that are also very good for the legendary style as well. So auto rifles, don't sleep on them because they seem to be champion related almost every season. I will try not to do many raid weapons because this is a list for solo players. You can slowly work on getting a little bit of loot from Vow of the Disciple by a solo player, so this one, but it's honestly worth playing the raid a little bit because this is a wave frame arc grenade launcher. Now with Arc 3.0 you can do a lot of things with ionic traces and blinding and special, but what you can do with this grenade launcher specifically is Ambitious Assassin. So if you kill enemies, you're going to possibly get 2 in the magazine, kind of like Salvage or Salvo. But it's that wave frame where it travels along the ground and you can tag way more enemies than you could by just a little breach load grenade launcher. Pair that with chain reaction in a similar aspect to Salvage or Salvo, and this thing just does wonders. Now the origin trait as well, gain health based on the number of hits. If you wave frame through multiple and then you have two grenades, you can shoot multiple waves through a massive group of enemies or smaller groups of like tough enemies. 2 grenades, waving through both of them, hurting them, probably exploding, causing chain reaction, doing more damage. It's a very, very fun weapon to use, and is one of the main reasons I would tell most people to go into Vow of the Disciple is this weapon. Now, there's a pulse rifle I have a preference for, but for most everybody else, Forebearence is the one that I see a lot of people still use. Mine's at level 40, so that tells you I put my time in with it as well. So this one in Vow of the Disciple raid through the Witch Queen expansion, this is probably your number one to go for from that raid. It's very, very good. Now, there are a lot of good pulse rifles in the game. The Syncopation is a world drop that's craftable that I use through most of my Vow grinding. You've got Insidious, which is probably my favorite because it's that 4-burst style, but that's probably a preference. But the Ogma PR6 is kind of a unique little one. It's a lightweight frame, so you have better handling, you move faster. It's a 450, so it still hits decently hard. And probably one of the most unique features is adaptive munitions. Pulse rifles are used for champions also very frequently, hence you guys will probably get a common theme in some of these weapons. But adaptive munitions will allow you to use this weapon and be able to manage whether it's arc, solar, or void shields. The only difference is just the arc and the void will take a little longer to kill, but they're not going to be painful when you're trying to work through those shields. And typically if it's something that needs like a pulse rifle for said type of champion, and if you've got a solar burn, and maybe there's another type of shield in there, now you're covered, and then as soon as you break that shield, you're doing that solar damage, so it boosts your DPS throughout something as well. So the Ogma is just a special one. If you find adaptive munitions on it, definitely make sure you hold on to it. I've put a lot of use into multiple of my Ogmas. I just really enjoy pulse rifles for that mid to far range that you can use them for. The little pulse, they've got a lot of different options as well, a lot of different ones that you can grind for, but like Syncopation from the World, Insidious is another raid drop, hence why I'm not trying to highlight it too much, but I do really like it. But Ogma, with adaptive munitions, that's one you should hold on to because of the functionality for so many different places where pulses are good for champions and then adaptive for shields. You're covered on a lot of bases there, so keep this one in mind, and if you see one, lock it, save it, you'll thank me. When it comes to clearing ads, you either may need to clear them in groups, make sure they don't respawn, you're just running through strikes and you want to kill as many things as possible. these are some of the best ad clearing weapons I have found and really enjoy using. Funnel Web for Void. Honestly, this is like the go-to. Vice Stinger paired with Subsistence is really what you're looking for here, whether it's Frenzy, whether it's Adrenaline Junkie, you've got options for bonusing damage because Subsistence, kill an enemy, you get more ammo. Vice Stinger, theoretically, refilling your magazine. Bonus damage, just constantly mowing stuff down with a lightweight frame, 900 RPM. Feels good, fires great, does a lot of work. Then you've also got a 900 Incalus mini tool. This one you can craft when you unlock the frame, and it's from Season of the Haunted, so last season, but you can get incandescent right here. Main thing about that is then you start unloading on things. When you kill little ads, they start exploding, helping the explosions kill the other ones even quicker, and you just start blowing stuff up. It's good for solar shields. This one works really well. This season, I think they outdid themselves, though, because I'm not even a big sidearm guy, but I can tell you, this brand new thing that I crafted not long ago, Brigand's Law, and basically what you want to craft is Feeding Frenzy right here, and Volt Shot right here. Basically what that does is when you kill an enemy, then you load in Volt Shot. When you fire Volt Shot out, and whether either you kill the enemy or you do enough damage, it does Chain Lightning. That Chain Lightning is bound to kill enemies. When you kill enemies, now you've procced Feeding Frenzy for fast reload. And now that you've killed something, you reload, and you've got Volt Shot ready to go on your next target or group of targets. So it's this Volt Shot Chain Lightning, make your reload faster, so you've got Volt Shot up again, and it's just this wonderful little circle of Chain Lightning, ad clearing greatness. And for Brigand's Law with Arc 3.0, it's fantastic. You've got Ionic Traces coming. This is kind of my favorite right now. If you're running Arc, this should be your ad clearing weapon, period. It's amazing. It's fantastic. Feeding Frenzy, Volt Shot. Enjoy it. It's way too much fun. Alright, now we get to bows, and I'm going to cover a lot of these, but quickly, because I already mentioned Point of the Stag. That's going to be a good arc bow. Under Your Skin is craftable from Season of the Riven. It's a Void. Fell Taradiddles from Witch Queen. It's craftable. It's kinetic. Strident Whistle is coming from the Vanguard playlist, and this one is going to be solar, which is taking a while to get a solar bow. You've got Luna Lotta, which is kind of a world gunsmith drop, and this thing's going to be stasis. The idea with a lot of these is you're going to be looking for... Typically, these are good for overload. Sometimes they're barrier. But the idea is if you can find some of these with explosive head and some type of fast reload, they're going to be some of the best overload and then reliable infinite ammo because they're primary weapons that you can have. Now, when it comes to exotics, they get even better because you've got 4 of them. You've got Wish Ender. Now it's an intrinsic barrier weapon. And as it passes through targets, it hits them 2 or 3 times with a longer draw time and barrier champion stunning with infinite ammo, so you never run out, but you've got a solid DPS weapon. Wish Ender is worth going through the Shattered Throne quest to get it, and that's part of the Forsaken expansion. Then you come down here to the energy slot, and you've got some just crowd pleasers. Trinity Ghoul, that's like Lightning Rod when you get your first precision kill. And then once you've got the Catalyst, Lightning Rod is on any arc damage, so the Chain Lightning that you can do from Lightning Rod will just turn around and proc Lightning Rod again, so you can just have lightning chain reaction craziness over and over and over, which is great for clearing ads and doing it at basically infinite range because bows don't have range. They just have accuracy. If you can hit it, it's there. Layman Arc is now an overload weapon, so you can pretty much have overload stunning to the best because this poison arrows will just tick damage, and all of those are considered overload, so it's kind of the best. Then if you get the precision hit with the perfect draw, it does that little poison explosion, so it'll do damage to other things. And if you're in a void burn anything, this is pretty much the weapon to go to, especially if overload is on the table and void is on the table. It's really hard to not use this weapon once you have it. It's way too much fun. Ticuu's Divination is probably the weakest of the 3 energy bows, but you can hip fire to shoot multiple tracking projectiles that you don't even have to aim. And then if you shoot one of those enemies and kill them, it's going to cause a detonation. Actually, I don't even think you have to kill them. And if you hit the precision shot, you're going to get them to explode bigger. So this is one that you can use from range to tag a couple of enemies, which the tag, if overload, say bow, is like the champion mod, you don't even have to aim to get the stun, and then you can get that explosion as well to go after it. So all of the bows I enjoy, and the main reason I like bows for any of the bows, whether it's legendary or exotic, is because you have pretty much infinite range if you can aim it. You can plink off enemies from very far away and keep yourself safe. And then some of these exotics are really fun to use. And now that we've got some champion use out of Lay Monarch as well, they just got even better. So bows for me, lots of use, lots of functionality. And again, as a solo player, I like to do many of my things from range safely. Bows are kind of my go-to. I never would have guessed bows would have been nailed by Bungie, but when it comes to weapons, bows are one of those they definitely did right. Alright, so my number 3 weapon that everyone should go after is the Taipan 4FR. I may have mentioned this in a previous video, but as a solo player, the only difference here is instead of firing line, you can put Frenzy. But you can have triple tap, and you can have Vice Stinger. You can unload, and then also if you go Ionized Battery, you've got 6. And if you get lucky with Vice Stinger, I've fired 20 plus shots without having to reload. And when you are trying to do DPS as a solo player, if it's an enemy that has a crit spot that's reasonable to hit, you're not going to find much better for DPS that is also easily accessible, because the quests for this through the crafting table in the Enclave, it basically hands both frames to you. So you just have to go kill the enemies. And now it's only like 40 enemies each. So if you kill the enemies, this gun is basically yours. And then once you level it up, it is one of the top DPS weapons. It's easy to get, and if you do want to jump into raids later on, and you at least have this weapon, at a baseline, everybody should have this weapon for DPS in a group. And yeah, this is the, group version, but if you're running more as a solo player, swap this to Frenzy, and it's still solid DPS, and really fast reload on top of this. So either way you go, you're good, but if you're more of a solo player, Frenzy is your way to go. And you're still going to bring decent DPS to a group as well. So I can't recommend Taipan enough. It's at the Enclave. It's a free quest. It hands you the frames. Everyone should have this weapon. It's that good. Alright, Guardians, this wouldn't be a realistic video if I didn't put Gjallarhorn in here. It's just too good. It's the best rocket launcher. When you get the Catalyst, then you have 2 in the magazine. No other rocket launcher can do that. And you've got Wolfpack rounds, so when the rocket explodes, then it does all the little Wolfpack round damage. And if you end up running with other people, whether it's a strike or something else, or maybe you bring this to a raid, if they have normal rocket launchers and you bring this, you give Wolfpack rounds to all of their rocket launchers. It really is that good. It is worth getting the Grasp of Avarice dungeon and completing the quest and the Catalyst and everything it takes to get this thing completely loaded up, because Gjallarhorn is basically one of the best weapons in the game, and it still holds true. So make sure you get it. I just wanted to make a quick shout out real quick to the Gift of the Thunder Gods. Currently this video is in Season of the Plunder, so if you get to this video in a future season and this isn't here, the main point of this is Thunderlord, because the changes they made to it are good. Now, if you can pick this thing up, this stuff is free. You've got a pretty good set of perks on all of these weapons. Not all great stats, but some are okay. But the main thing here, it's going to give you an exotic. You may as well pick that thing up. Might actually give you a couple mods, but the biggest thing is Thunderlord. It's now an overload weapon. Kills with this weapon generate stunning lightning strikes. Consistent damage will do lightning strikes. And the longer the weapon fires, the faster it fires. And then if you do continuous damage, it does lightning strikes. But when you do lightning strikes with the Catalyst, you partially reload the magazine. And basically, when you get to a point where the lightning strikes are happening so much, I have almost dumped the entire reserves without reloading. It is one of the best catalysts I could have ever expected them to do with this one. And honestly, they're still working on making machine guns better. So that's what I'm saying. If for some reason you don't own Thunderlord, log in, pick this thing up. It's free, and the changes they made to it made it absolutely amazing. And with Arc 3.0, it's got some great synergy there as well. Don't sleep on some of these. In case you don't have great rolls, pick them up. But Thunderlord, you should all own this because they're giving it to you for free. And now we come to my number 1 weapon for solo players. Now, it's Arbalest, and some of you guys may have expected this if you watched me play before, but it will break barrier champion shields in 1 hit. It's a linear fusion rifle. Hits pretty hard, even at the charge time of 533. It's not a heavy, but it is special ammo. It's a special weapon, so you can pair this with something like Taipan or Spyglass and use linear fusion ammo like Scavenger and Ammo Finder perks, and it works for both your special and your heavy, so you actually have mod synergy. Pair that on top of everything else, besides the fact that this is breaking a combatant shield, refills this weapon from reserve. So if you break a shield, you're still going to be sitting at max. You also get more in reserves, and it's honestly just the fact that it can hit arc, solar, void shields, breaks them all in 1 hit, and breaks barrier shields, and it's a linear fusion rifle. in the kinetic slot with special ammo. It literally is like my multi-tool of greatness. So if a strike ever has barrier, this is probably coming with me. If a Lost Sector has barrier, this is my go-to. So as a solo player, the universal things that this thing can do so much, this is one of the best things. Now, unfortunately, it does take either a random engram or buying Xur's engram and getting it out of that, or having Xur sell it to get this thing. So it may be a little while for you to come by this, but if you ever see it, hear about it, or otherwise, and then once you get it, you'll understand how powerful this is. Linear fusion rifles are in a pretty good place right now, so if you have it, enjoy it and use it, because it can almost do it all. Not quite, but it does so many things. It is my #1 tool a solo player should have, because it allows you to do so much. Even if it's not barrier champions, the fact that it can break every shield is still very, very helpful, because like right now, for example, machine guns are overload, and then maybe you have an unstoppable pulse rifle, and then you have Arbalest, just so you know you have every shield covered. It really is the tool that just keeps on giving. So that is my #1 is Arbalest. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. If you have a top few weapons that you think are great for solo players, put those down in the comments as well, or if you just want to say hello. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like below. If you want to help support me, click the link in the description or in the pinned comment. Check out Raid Shadow Legends. That is, again, the best way to help support me on this video. If you guys want to find me on Twitter or Twitch or any social platform, it's going to be Ebontis. If you find the cheetah, you found me. And if you guys are new to the channel and you enjoyed this video, we are right around the corner from another season, so you'll be getting more content from me constantly. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the alert bell, and I'll see you in the next one.